When it comes to performance electric vehicles, there's not that many of them out there until this, the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N. So the N is Hyundai's performance division. It all started way back then with the Veloster N, followed by the Elantra N, and now their first performance EV. This Ioniq 5N is now the yardstick for other car makers to follow. This is a performance-driven EV. There's no luxuries of any kind. I'm gonna talk about it, review it, go over all the incredible performance features. And before I continue, I wanna say a big thank you to Hyundai for allowing me to live with this car for the past week, for me to review for you guys. Thank you, you guys are awesome. Stay tuned, that is coming up next. Okay, let's talk 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Up front, you see it has a very aggressive front end, very mean looking. I mean, the regular Ioniq 5 has the same look, but this one is dialed to 20. Up front, you see those little slots right there. In the regular Ioniq 5, those are just there for, it has a lighting fixture to give it a little bit more flair. In here, in this version, that was removed to add more cooling to the battery, to keep, because cooling was very important. You still have the pixelated headlights. Let me close in a little bit there. On camera, they look like they're flickering, but that's just the way, unfortunately, LED headlights look on camera. But you do have low beam, high beam LED. You do have this little pixelated squares, which I absolutely love. Gives the car a very angry and menacing look at night. While we're here, this side skirt here channels air to the massive brakes, which we'll go over in a second. And up front, you do have this massive air intake, again, to channel air to the battery and to keep it cooling, because cooling is very important. All Ioniq 5Ns have that little red strip, which is the signature red strip for the N Performance brand. This vehicle is finished in performance matte paint. So the paint is matte paint, no shiny. Hyundai logos is all blacked out. And let's just walk around this thing. It's absolutely hilariously fun in a good way. My tester is sitting on Pirelli P0 tires, 275/35 all around. The front disc rotors are 14.5 inch. It has 4 piston caliper brakes, all in-house Hyundai brakes, and it needs it because this thing does have a lot of stopping power, and it's definitely not slow. 0 to 60 is 3.2 seconds, and some outlets has even tested it at 3.3 seconds flat. So we'll go over the performance in a little bit. Mirrors, of course, are shiny black. You do have integrated turn signals here, and the cameras on each mirror, because it does have a 360 camera. All Ioniq 5Ns, notice there is no sunroof. These don't have sunroof because that sacrifices performance and handling. So Hyundai just removed it and give you no sunroof. It does have a little black fin antenna. The Ioniq 5N is also a little bit lower than the standard one, and it does have this little, again, that N signature color right there with the red, and it does have a little N in the back right here. If we go to the back, you'll see that little N logo there. And up in the rear, I believe the rotors are 12.5 inch, which are also massive. Charge doors right here, just like the traditional Ioniq 5. And its power, this vehicle can go from 10% to 80% in about 15 minutes using a level 3 charger, which is about 350 kilowatt hour or even 150. The standard Ioniq does have the NACS connector, the North American Charging Standard, which is AKA the Tesla connector. This one has the CCS combo, but of course you can get an adapter and charge, of course, connected and charging a Tesla charger. These are the little indicator for the battery level, so these things start blinking. Also, I forgot, mention this. This vehicle also has something called vehicle to load. What that means is you plug in an adapter there, and then the other end, it has a standard outlet that you can charge. You can go camping and plug in a microwave, radio, lights, whatever. So, which is pretty cool. And all Ioniq 5s have that, including the standard one. In the back, Hyundai did not mess with perfection. These taillights are absolutely really cool. Again, they're flickering on camera, but they do not flicker in real life. Right now the lights are on, so this is what it looks like in taillight mode. And then when you turn on the turn signals, the inner cubes start blinking. You also get this little light strip, which is hard to see on camera. Ioniq 5 right here, all blacked out. Let's see if I could light that up. Yep, Ioniq 5 right there, built in. Black Hyundai badge. Ioniq 5 performance spoiler and third brake light. And one thing that Hyundai did is install a rear wiper, because the previous models did not have a wiper at all. And as you can see, it's very aggressive. The spoiler, super cool looking and very menacing. And if you do a little bit of the side view, you can see how big that spoiler is right there. And it does have channels. Air does channel through this way, which is pretty cool. Now that we're back here, let's take a look at the cargo area, which should be identical to the current Ioniq 5. So Ioniq 5 in general, it is a very large electric SUV, even though on paper and on video it looks like a tiny little thing, but it's not. No spare tire under here. You just have the tire mobility kit there, and this is your charge cable, and this is the subwoofer, and that's pretty much it. These seats do fold down, so you can fold them completely, and you do get a little bit of LED lighting in the cargo area. And you can get a cargo cover. You can put it there and then hide your cover, hide your cargo. Power liftgate, height adjustable as well, so you can adjust the height depending on how low your garage. It also has a smart opening trunk, which means that if you're close to it and you have the key on you, it will automatically unlock. And this is what the key looks like. It's all blacked out. It's the Hyundai logo. See if I can get it there in the sun. And on the other side, it has the N badge, which is pretty cool. Door handles, just like the standard Ioniq 5. They come out to greet you when the car unlocks. And let's take a look at what would be the engine bay, but this is an electric car, and talk about the power figures, power numbers. So this car has no frunk, just like the standard Ioniq 5. But here, it just has the N right there. The N badge, very cool. And that's pretty much it, because it is an electric vehicle. You do have a windshield washer nozzle right there. This is for your brakes, brake fluid. It does have a standard 12-volt battery, fuse box, and that's pretty much it, because it is an electric vehicle after all. All right, let's take a look at the interior, the technology, and the performance-driven features of this Ioniq 5N, and then we go for a quick drive. Stay tuned for that. And let's try this again. So if I walk up to it, and it's not doing it, but it will unlock, and the mirrors are power folding, so they will lock. But let's see, if I walk away far enough and I come close, oh well. It's making me look bad. That's all right. It does do it. I promise you it does it. And in the interior, this of course is performance driven. Like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, everything in here is black. I don't think you can get any other color but black for the Ioniq 5. And it does have the ambient lighting, which lives right here, and you can change the color. Like as you guys saw, it is power folding mirrors, auto up and down the front two windows, power rear windows, child lock. You got a little bottle holder. And being the N, you do have a nice door sill there with a checker flag and logo right there. And just like its sibling, the Elantra N, this has performance seats, bucket seats. You got the N logo right there that does light up at night, which is nice. Super. And if you can put a racing harness right here, you do have the holes right there, so which is pretty cool. It is a manual seat, unfortunately. So height, and then you can adjust it here, so it's not power in any way. You do get performance brake pedals right there, brake and accelerator, performance dead pedal. And let's step inside because it is a bit steamy. And this is what the interior looks like of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. I like the fact that Hyundai decided to give it a dedicated N logo on the steering wheel. Personally, I think they should have done N logo up front and just kept the rear Hyundai logo. And put your foot on the brake. You press start to turn it on. And in front of you, it looks, the screens are going to be identical to the standard Ioniq 5, which are two dual 12.3-inch displays. And this is using Hyundai's latest infotainment system. So it has the updated OS, and which is very snappier. The icons are a little bit more bolder. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It does have something called Hyundai Pay, and it gives you the weather. It gives you all sorts of information. Hyundai Pay is basically for charging networks. So for example, like I believe EVgo is one of the participating partners, parking garages, things of that nature. You got valet mode to kill power, phone. This is your dedicated EV screen. So this one tells you the state of charge. I charged the vehicle earlier. I'm up to 90%. This vehicle, because it uses the 800 volt architecture, it charges that rapidly. But of course, you can also charge it at home with a standard 240 amp charger. And this just tells you where the nearest chargers are, which is super useful. So there's no guessing as to where the chargers are near your location, built into the navigation system. It tells you your current energy usage right here. So it tells you what's consuming a lot of energy. Electronics, climate control. The vehicle is rated on paper 221 miles, but I've noticed that, for example, if I put it in eco mode, it says 224, but when I charged it, it was about 240 miles. So Hyundai is a little bit conservative when it comes to the range estimates. So they might under promise and over deliver, which is a good thing. So right now, as you guys can see, the vehicle is in standard mode, right? You guys see that? Regular standard mode. But then when you push this guy, then it goes into N mode, and you see the N dedicated, the gauges, the RPM gauge, tells you motor temperature for the front, for the rear, the battery temperature. It becomes a performance machine immediately when you press that N button. And another party trick that this vehicle has, if you press the N custom modes, you're gonna hear the vehicle has actual sounds, which is absolutely hilarious, but hilarious in a good way, because it removes the boringness of an electric vehicle. And this is where every car maker now is trying to catch up to Hyundai to make their electric vehicles have synthetic sounds. And this one, you even hear the crackle and the pops in the back speakers, which is hilarious. And if you put it in drive, you can actually shift it with the paddle shifters, which is absolutely genius. And this is basically the best, which we'll go over in the driving portion later, but the best driving simulator you can buy right now, because it gives you the feel and engagement, which again, I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but it's absolutely hilarious. And you know, that's the dedicated performance, the screen there, and of course N buttons. On the left side, you do have the controls for the cruise control, so you can turn that on and off there. drive mode selector. So here you have eco, and as you can see, the sound is still there, but it becomes that eco. You got normal and you got sport. Let's go back to the performance driven screen, which is pretty cool. It turns off traction control. I mean, pretty much it's ready to go, but you can customize all those end performance features on this screen right here. So when you go to the end modes, if you want the traction control, you can actually turn it on or off. It actually warns you. These are the different sounds. So one of them is ignition. The second one is called evolution, which I don't know how I feel about that one. This one is called supersonic, which is supposed to sound some kind of like airliner or something. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, the best one is ignition, because it does sound like its sibling, the Elantra N, which I reviewed, and I will link up the video to that when I get. You can control the suspension to sport, normal, sport plus, steering, the engine, eco, normal, and sport plus, which is, again, this is all the activation. It does have launch mode, so when you do this, the vehicle gets ready to activate a launch mode, and you can actually launch this car and basically hold on for dear life and have fun. And this screen also here controls all, it has a bunch of customization for the performance version. So launch control, you could do high grip, the end shift. So this basically mimics a 8-speed automatic, and it will give you, which again we'll go over in the driving portion later. It even holds the gear, and it waits for you to shift. This is the sound. So right now it said ignition, evolution, supersonic. And here you can control the volume of it. You can actually also activate the outside speaker, which is super cool. I can't personally hear it. Climate control here, lights, you know, just these are all standard vehicle settings here, which is pretty cool. Digital key, so that means that you can set up your phone as a key, and you can come in here and set up your phone. You can even have an NFC card key, and convenience features, things of that nature. Super customizable. The driver assistance tells you what each thing does. The battery reconditioning, let me go back in there. So you can recondition the battery. You can tell if you do a drag race, you're in track mode. I mean, the sky's the limit. N pedal, so basically this is like one pedal driving, but performance version, dial to 100. So it activates regen braking when you're driving very fast, and it's very aggressive. I tried it a little bit, and it's super aggressive. So you turn that on, and you can see it says N pedal mode. Sadly, it turns off the sound, unfortunately. Let me go back to that N pedal. Activate that. Yes, it gives you a big warning, and you can see in the screen it says N pedal, and you could of course customize the regen braking. So you have down to N pedal 1, N pedal 2, 3, and it's super aggressive. But I'll try it a little bit later in the driving portion. But let me turn that off for now and return on the sound again. And race, so this is basically for driving, used for track driving. The motor and the battery are cooled to the maximum. This way it may cause noises, vibration, climate performance, but this is if you take your car to the track. This also has N torque distribution, and what that does is you can tell the vehicle to send power either to the front or the rear. So I think for that I have to disable traction control and sport mode. Let me see. Use 10 distribution on dedicated racetracks, and it's available. All following conditions are met. Motor and Sport Plus, and mode custom mode 1. So if I do custom mode, and let's see if it does it. And It looks like it is not on. So I guess you have to meet the criteria in order to do that, which is right here. And then what that does basically is, it's probably not going to do it. What that does is you could send power, you could make it 100% rear wheel drive or front wheel drive, which is pretty cool. You could also, it has something called End Drift Optimizer, excuse me, got tongue tied there. And that allows you to drift. And you could turn this thing into a drifting machine. A lot of customization for this. It's absolutely insane. Look at track mode. I mean, it's super, super cool. Let me see what that does if I put it in track mode. Yeah, it tells you the battery temperature, the drag strip mode, the on and on. Oh, and you can click on the circuit. So you say you're in a particular track. You got, you know, Atlanta Motor Speedway, Homestead, Lime Rock Park. So this way the car knows which track is in, and it automatically adjusts itself to that particular track. Super useful, super cool. And let's go over the interior features. So the climate control is a separate little screen right here, just like the standard Ioniq 5. So here you have is dual zone climate control. Here when you click on climate, it brings up that climate screen. You can activate the cooling seats. It does have cooling seats for both passenger and driver, heated and cooled, and heated steering wheel as well, which is super useful. And right now it's a little warm. I feel it right now. If you go back to that climate screen, you can click on driver only, and that will increase your range a little bit because it's only blowing air to this vent and this vent, and that's it. This way you can save energy. Oh, and before I continue, so this vehicle in terms of power has 601 horsepower and 545 pounds-feet of torque in normal mode. But when you press this button here, the N Grind Boost button, for 10 seconds you get power jumps to 641 horsepower and the torque goes to 568 for 10 seconds. So if you press this right here, it's absolutely insane. It tells me that conditions are not met because I guess I'm not driving, which is fine. And it becomes like, it's like warp speed in Star Trek. Like it's insane. It's absolutely insane how fast it gets. Right side of the screen, right side of the steering wheel, you do have controls for the media, mode, voice command, the favorites button. So if you press that, it activates your favorites, and you can customize whichever you want. You could do Wi-Fi hotspot, N mode, map, music. I mean, you could, the sky's the limit where you can customize the settings, which is super, super cool. The Hyundai does that. The volume up and down right here, you can mute, up and down, track forward, backwards, pick up and hang up is only one button. The steering wheel is nice and grippy, I gotta say. Thank you, Hyundai, for not making a weird oval shaped steering wheel. It's just a regular shaped steering wheel. And the Ioniq 5N, the center console is slightly different than the standard one. So it's a fixed console here. You do have wireless charger. You have dual USB-C ports right there. And it does, these USB ports are fast charging as well. So this one you can click it to be data and charging or charging only. And it does have another USB-C right here. And it do have a traditional 12-volt outlet. This button activates the 360 camera, which this vehicle has. You got, of course, the different views, and you can do this one, which shows the car all around. Super cool, super useful. That's the back view, front, and you can do different angles. You can just do this, and it does show you trajectory lines. And I go back over here, front, regular front, super, super useful. And this camera will also auto activate itself when you're coming into a slow stop. I love the fact that you do have physical controls. You have home, map, search, seek, track forward, backwards, media, favorites, and setup, which is nice that everything is buried into the screen. Super useful. The cluster, you can change the way it looks as well. So, for example, If we go to standard mode, let's say put the standard mode. So that's one of the clusters that, and you can do this in the regular Ioniq 5 too. So if I go to classic, that's what it looks like in classic. And then there's classic style. Right now it's in classic A. This is classic B. And this is classic C. Or you could just tell it to link it to the drive modes. So then this way, when you go to sport, it gets all red and angry. And then eco gets all green and normal. But of course, you could just leave it N mode all the time, even though you're not in performance mode, which is super, super cool, I gotta say. Super, super cool to have it in N mode. But simple is kind of modern and cool because it has digital gauges instead of the needles. And that's what you could do in the screen here. So super, super, super cool and useful information. Excellent. This system, this infotainment is super easy to use and not complicated. Moving down to, oh, let me take that. That's part of my tools. Moving down to the center, you do have a giant cubby here, multi-purpose cubby. And I notice it does have the N, maybe hard to pick up on camera, but let me see if I turn on my light. N right there on the mat. And these you got disappearing cup holders. So right there you can just use that. Super useful, super deep too. And you do get also a little itty bitty cubby right there. Not too much space in there. You do also get of course, a very large glove box in the center console. That strip there looks like it's light, but it doesn't. It's just there for aesthetic purposes and for looks. And that is pretty much it up front. Oh, and like I mentioned, there is no sunroof, so you just get a black roof. You have control for your lighting, your LED lighting here. You can, of course, they're touch responsive. You could do that. Super cool, super useful. Kind of like an airliner. This turns on with the lights. SOS button, blue link button, and that's pretty much it because this doesn't have a sunroof. This is an auto dimming mirror. No camera mirror in this particular model because it's not. The limited is the performance version. All right, let's step in the back seat of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And then we go for a quick drive. Stay tuned for that. All right, let's step in the back seat of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Just like the standard Ioniq 5, the windows are they're tinted, the glass. And pull on the door handle, same materials up front. Everything is blacked out. You do got this little racing stripes right here. Softly padded armrest. If this was the standard Ioniq 5, this button here will be the heated seat control. This is the grab handle / ambient lighting. And the seats are also finished in leather and suede back here in Alcantara. And being an electric vehicle, you see all the massive amount of leg room right here that you have. This is what the back of the seat, the performance seat, looks like. This is there's the N logo right there. The back does not light up, but it looks, nonetheless, it still looks pretty cool. And you guys can see I have plenty of leg room right here. There is a look at the center console. You do have two USB-C ports here, right here. And maybe hard to pick up on camera, but if I turn on my light, yeah, you can kind of make out. Yeah, you see the little blue ambient lighting and then the blue ambient lighting around the speaker, which is a nice little touch. And moving on to the center console, just like the standard Ioniq 5, you do have two cup holders right here and two on the doors. The air vents are mounted on the pillar. So you do have nice air vents right here for your rear passenger entertainment. Nice little grab handle right here. And that is pretty much it. All right, let's take this Ioniq 5N for my first drive and final thoughts. Stay tuned for that. Let's take the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N for a spin. All right, so I am going to put it in N mode. So you guys may or may not hear the speaker, the sound. And let me just put this very cool screen here. And right now I have it in manual mode, so and I would do my best. Unfortunately, I can't go too fast around here, but let me see. Woo! And as you guys can hear, hopefully you can hear, the sound definitely gets enhanced the faster you step on it, and it becomes, like I said, a driving simulator. It's a little bit of steel plates around here, so I can't really go that fast, but and I think it's awesome. A couple of complaints I have, they're minor. I personally think for the price point of this, about $66,000, these seats should have been power. I'm sorry, Hyundai, but they should not been manual seats for the amount of money you're paying for it, because I mean, how much weight can you possibly save? It's an electric vehicle at the end of the day. Okay, granted, no sunroof, fine. I understand that, because that's a giant piece of glass. Cool. But the seats, I mean, come on. The seats should have been power. It would have been cool if it had a performance heads-up display as well. Would have kept nice. They would have kept that, so see all the vital information in front of you. But that's it. I digress. No, not too much complaints. And if I downshift here, and let me do my usual highway loop, and let me see if I can activate launch mode. Let's see. Oh, baby. Woo! You gotta get back, because otherwise your neck will snap. Unfortunately, it turns off the noise, but here we go. I turn back on, and the noise is where it's at. And there, I'm in 4th gear. And one thing, like I was saying earlier, if you give it the wrong gear, it will penalize you. And you see, it won't. You hear how it's like it won't go faster because you're in the wrong gear. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you downshift and go, and it's absolutely hilarious how much fun this car is, because you can't not help it but smile, because it even gives you, Hyundai even engineered the fake kickback when you shift over automatic transmission of a 8-speed dual clutch transmission, which is absolutely fun. And yeah, it's insane. I have nothing but great things to say. Oh, and of course the range, it's not like the regular Ioniq 5. You're gonna pay to play, unfortunately, if you get this version versus the regular one. It's rated for 221 miles. There have been outlets out there that have gotten it more than the 221. When I charged it to 90%, I got to 240 miles. So the range estimate is definitely, it's a little bit conservative on Hyundai's part. But let's give it one more go. Oh my God. And just like that, you can get in trouble very quickly. And then you downshift and it performs excellent. These brakes, obviously the regen braking is excellent. Oh man. This is a prime example of an electric car. Electric cars do not have to be boring and quiet. Yes, they are electric cars for everybody. You want it to be quiet, you just press this button and it becomes a traditional standard Ioniq 5. No frills, no noise. You can even set it to normal mode. Gauges changes back to normal. But don't get fooled in thinking that just because it's in normal mode that it's slow. It's not slow. Far from it. I mean, you could just press this button here, and especially if you press this N green boost button, it becomes, it's like warp speed for 10 seconds, which is crazy. It's just crazy how fast this thing is off the line. And then you turn on the noise again and you're back to fun mode. You know, the names are silly, N grin boost mode, but N grin, I guess, because you have a permanent grin and you start smiling. I gave a good friend of mine a ride in this and he could not stop smiling. And he was cracking up the whole way. And he has a Tesla Model Y Performance, and he absolutely loved this thing. So he's not a stranger to performance electric vehicles, which is super, super, super hilarious and fun. All right, folks, and before I go, again, the price point for this is about $66,000. It only comes one way. The only options you pay for is basically color, this is one of the colors that you pay for because it's matte. And that's it. It comes one way as is. It's a lot of fun. You would definitely not be bored driving this Ioniq 5 in any way, shape, or form. It also does have Hyundai's driving assist. It has all the safety stuff from Hyundai, so it will drive by itself. And look, I'm not shifting, and it's just it's just waiting for me to shift, which again, it's hilarious and brilliant how they did this. It's absolutely insane how they engineered fake gears, fake dual clutch automatic. It's brilliant. As a tech professional, it's so cool to see that companies engineering a car like this. Super, super cool and super useful. And now I am rambling. All right. Thank you guys for watching. This has been my first quick look, full in-depth view, of the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N, the performance version, the fun one. The regular one is fun, but this one is dialed to 140. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all on the next one. Take care and stay safe.